This is something that shouldn't have happened, but it did. There have been many variations and accounts of this story, but I was there.
Hello? Ronnie?
Yeah, I've been meaning to call you.
We came up with this idea. We're gonna bring out 5 sets of drums and 5 drummers. Have ourselves a little drum off.
What's going on?
I gotta go to Atlanta, baby.
Atlanta?
Yeah, trying out for Skinner.
Being the drummer of Lynyrd Skynyrd every day on the road was a hilarious adventure. We knew these songs backwards and forwards so well that we only had to think about how hard we wanted to hit it.
I'm the co-pilot. All I've ever dreamed of doing is flying a big rig with rock stars. After this, I'll be able to die a happy man.
All right.
Not what was coming next.
We need an airport. We are running low on fuel and just about out of it.
What are you doing?
Love you guys.
It didn't feel like the end of the world at the time. It felt like we're gonna go on. We're gonna be survivors. This is more than a story about the plane crash. It's about the music of Lynyrd Skynyrd, the greatest Southern rock band of all time.
I just wanted to mention my love for the man, the musician, Charlie Daniels and Ronnie Van Zant, as well as Gary Rossington. I miss Charlie and I miss Ronnie, and Gary has been as good as deceased out of my life, for years, because they won't let Gary and I basically see each other because they know that we would bond and there'd be less money for them to steal, amongst other reasons. It breaks my heart
if
for
something
me not
happened,
to be able to just pick up the phone and call Gary and say, "Hey, Gary, man, you had a heart attack. How you feeling today?"
Yeah.
And the only silver lining that I can say about COVID-19, and this is ridiculous to say there are no silver linings, but the one thing that I can point to is that every time Gary in the last 6 years has had a heart attack, they shame him back into going on the road to make them that damn money. They're like, "Gary, we need that money." And Gary is a trooper, and he'll say, "Yeah, I'll do it." I can hear him. I can hear him go, "Yeah, I can go back out on the road."
Right.
In 2 weeks, when any doctor would tell you to take 6 months to a year and recover after a heart attack. But the only thing about this COVID-19 is that Gary Rossington can go to his big mansion outside of Atlanta and sit there by the pool and be cool and not be shamed into going back on the road. He can actually rest. All I can say about that is, God bless you, Gary. You deserved a break. So I'm really glad that Gary is able to truly rest and get healthy, and doing what I call the forever farewell tour. The drummers that they get can't play my parts, so they cut them in half.
Right.
And they're fleecing the fans by coming back to cities 2 and 3 times and saying it was their farewell tour. It's not fair to the fans. And when Gary retires, they probably will try to continue to call some form of it Lynyrd Skynyrd. And Judy will probably sell them the name as long as she gets a big fat bag of money every time they perform. She doesn't care if a bunch of Chinese circus monkeys go out as Lynyrd Skynyrd. She just wants the money. It's unfortunate because I don't think think that Johnny Van Zant and Ricky Medlock have enough balls to call that band Leonard Skinner. You know, Ronnie Van Zant had balls.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call my band Leonard Skinner. I certainly wouldn't do that, even if I do have balls. But Ricky and Johnny, they should just call it what it really is, the I'm Afraid of My Wife band, and I stabbed my friends in the back. Anyway, shame on them. We won. They lost. Gary's getting some rest. May Charlie Daniels rest in peace. I love the man, and there's nobody like Charlie. He was a one-of-a-kind. There's never been anybody like him. There never will be. I really miss my friend Charlie. I wish we could have been on terms where I would have been able to talk to him. But Ryan, I want to let you know one thing.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years ago when we played with Charlie, even though his management made me feel unwelcome, I got to say this, that after Charlie heard my band playing Leonard Skinner music with accuracy, respect, and honor, he called for me at this theater, and I went down to his dressing room, and he was putting on a shirt, and he said, Artimus, he said, your band is incredible. Those guys play that music really well. And I said, thanks, Charlie. That means a lot, man. And then about a few days later, we played another gig in New Jersey, a big outdoor thing for thousands, tens of thousands of people. I was up on stage tearing down my drums, and Charlie's band and Charlie's entire road crew, they were all standing there watching me pack up my drums, you know, and there's like 40,000 people screaming at me, you know, because we just finished Freebird, and they're going, Artimus, and I'm tearing my drums down, and Charlie comes over to me, man, and puts his arm around me, and he said, Artimus, you're playing better than ever, man. You're playing really great. And I said, thanks, Charlie. That means a lot. So those two incidents are the last time that I ever talked to Charlie and was able to hug him and hug his neck. And I haven't let myself break completely down because of Charlie's passing.
Yeah.
You know, the other day, last week, and I haven't really, it just kind of hit me and everything. The relationship that we had, and the thousands of miles that we traveled on the road together, and, you know, all the great doobies, and the fact that Charlie, you know, I never dreamed as a kid or even a young adult that I would ever be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And I found out it's kind of a big deal.
Oh, it is.
You know, and because of Charlie, and because of Ronnie Van Zant, and because of Ed King, and because of Gary Rossington, you know, and all of those, my band members, I'm in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it makes me all that much more proud to be a part of that very small, exclusive club.
It was so good, too, Artimus, to see when that happened. I remember watching it when you guys were playing, and something happened that, you know, all of us fans had been, you know, waiting for years to see if it would ever happen, and it took the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to induct you guys. To see you and Ed King and Bob Burns and everybody on stage, back on stage with Gary and you know, Johnny and all them, but to see you guys playing together, you know, that's what any like real Skinner fan is always, you know, we've all said the same thing, like, why in the world, you know, you got Ed King, of course, he's passed now, but, you know, before that, you know, Ed is still around. Artimus, like, why? Randall Hall, like, why won't they put this together the right way so it sounds like Skinnerd again?
Definitely, it felt good to play with Ed and Gary that night.
Yeah.
And Billy. Johnny, not so much. He was, you know, had been drinking and snorting coke, and, you know, was all sweating and looking all stupid. And I heard him say, let's get this shit over. And I said to him, I said, man, this shit you refer to is your brother being inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Because he's a talented, prolific writer, and we are honoring him. And I said, there's a difference between carrying the flag and cashing the check. And I said, Johnny, you're cashing the checks, brother. And he's never honored that. He's never honored that he gets paid a lot of money to sing his brother's songs, very badly, I might add. You know, there's a kid out there someplace like yourself that deserves to be the lead singer for Leonard Skinner more than Johnny Van Zant does.
No, thank
I've
you.
heard you put it out there, man. So if they, you know, Judy Van Zant offered to get me on the tribute tour. She came up and talked to me and really just trying to, you know, find out what I knew about, you know, the movie. You know, she wasn't up there for a sincere reason. she came up and she said, "Oh, I want to get you off the list. I want to get your money back for you, and I want you to go on the farewell tour." Well, I don't care about the farewell tour. I don't want to play. Who are those people?
Yeah.
I don't know. But Gary can come and play with my band anytime he wants to, and he would love my band. It's very pretentious.
Right.
And these guys play the music better than those guys do. But the fact is, Gector management would probably want me to come out on the last night of the last show and wave at the audience to make them look good.
Right.
You know, so, oh, look, they let Artimus come out and wave like a party monkey.
Right.
Look, Artimus is waving at us.
Yeah.
You know, I told them there's only one way I'd go out and play with them, and that's if I played at least 7 songs in the set.
Right.
If they gave me any crap about that, then I'm going to raise it to 8 songs. And if they gave me any crap about that, I'm going to raise it to 10 songs. So I don't care. Judy said, "Oh, no wonder they don't want you around because you're so mean." Well, they started this. They were mean to me.
Yeah.
And I don't care if they don't want me around. I don't want to be a part of something that is a clown act.
Right.
And that's what they are. They are a clown act. And so when they do come back out after COVID-19 is done, and they'll start their whole forever farewell tour again to fleece the fans, once they do that, they don't dare ask me to come out with them. You know, it's disgusting what they do. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment. When I lived in the castle of King David in Jerusalem, Israel for 3 years, and I was studying Old Testament and everything, there's a word in Hebrew. It's called abusha. It's an embarrassment.
Wow.
That's what that is. My band, anybody that hears my band, including Charlie Daniel, realizes that we play this music properly and sincerely and with no pretense. I don't make anybody in my band dress up like Billy Powell or
Right.
dress up like Leon Wilkeson or dress up like Alan, or, you know, they get their drummers, a couple of their drummers they got to dress up like me, wear gym shorts and knee socks and all that stuff. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, the guys in my band, they all look like FBI agents. You know,
But they play their asses off, though.
They play their asses off. We're very honored that the movie world and the music world is accepting our #1 Amazon movie into their hearts. And I know there's going to be people that don't like this and don't like that. I know that there's going to be a bunch of people from Jacksonville that are going to bump their gums and run their mouths.
Yeah.
You know, oh, this wasn't right and that wasn't right. And every single thing that is not right in the movie, I reiterate, is Judy Van Zant's fault.
Yeah.
#1, because she and Gary would not come to the table and make it together. #2, because we didn't have the money to get the proper airplane. We had to use a tail dragger.
Right.
And it was a C-117. I flew in them in the Marines, and it's a beautiful airplane. They've got a very safe flying record.
Yeah.
And everything, but that's not the plane we crashed. The plane we crashed had tricycle landing gear, which means one under each wing and one on the nose.
Right.
And the tail sits up in the air. So, but to use one of those planes and find all of the plane parts that needed to be used for the crash scene,
Right.
and the interior shots and all that stuff was way out of our budget.
Sure.
So
I
we
can
had to
imagine.
use what we could do. And so somebody would go, "Well, it wasn't even the right airplane." And you know what I tell them? I can't say it in public.
Yeah.
You
No
know,
doubt.
it's like I would tell them we did the very best we could with the budget that we had, and I'm not making excuses. I'm really proud of the effort made by everybody.
As you should be.
So
You did. I mean,
you
look,
know.
you not only made a great film, you know, you did this with both arms tied behind your back and still, like I said, relentless. You know, you made a great film that, you know, does a great job depicting of everything through your eyes from back in those days. The crash scene, I don't know, you know, obviously you were there and I was not, but I probably backed that up and watched it a dozen times, each time with a few more tears in my eyes. I thought it was...
It's intense.
I was wondering if it was tough for you to watch, or if it was portrayed pretty closely the way it actually happened, or if it was just Hollywood, you know, whatever, Hollywood magic or what, or if it was pretty close, and if it was tough to watch that kind of a thing after they were finished with it.
I've watched the movie probably 12 times all the way through.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to watch. And that portrayal is very accurate because, Ronnie was hit by a TV that was going forward. That's depicted in the movie. It's hard to see, but that's what took his life.
Wow.
And, he might have been able to survive the impact because he was in the front of the plane. But that TV coming forward, that's what a doctor told me, that he felt like Ronnie was killed by a single blow to the head, possibly the way the wreckage was found, some video recording equipment or a television.
Wow.
That wasn't buckled down, that wasn't strapped down.
Jeez.
We were rock and roll, man. We were loose.
Yeah.
So the interior of the plane was not completely. When I carried extra equipment in the back of the plane, I always made sure, from my Marine Corps training and flying to Puerto Rico, and making sure our equipment was tied down. But when you got 26 people on board an airplane, somebody's going to put something over here. They're going to set something over there. We did have a Betamax.
Yeah.
We had a Betamax and a Sony Trinitron TV on board the plane. That's what they felt like, the single blow to the head, rather than, the doctor told me that Ronnie was intact.
Yeah.
He wasn't, except for the blow to the head. So that, I know that must have been very hard for Ronnie's family to see.
Yeah.
And for all the families to see. But I look at it this way: every year, all the people that lost people in 9/11 in the World Trade Centers, they have to relive it every year.
Yeah.
People that, their children are murdered by the police have to relive it every year when the anniversary comes up.
Right.
It's brought up on the news cycle. People who's police officers that are murdered in the line of duty by idiots.
Yeah.
Every year that anniversary comes up. People have to face these things. And I've had to face it every single day since it happened. I did it so that fans know what we went through, that it was not just some, hard landing.
Yeah.
That plane came apart, man. And
That's...
Hollywood CGI special effects are such that every time I see that part, it feels like that plane's coming apart.
Wow.
And then when I returned to the crash site, and when I was walking up to the crash site, they had, we didn't have the budget for what was really there, but huge cranes. They had brought bulldozed roads in, and they had these huge cranes that were picking up pieces of the fuselage and dropping them down in these big double dump trucks, these big long double dump trucks. And so when I went back to the crash site, every time a crane would bring up a piece of the plane and drop it into these big dump trucks, it was a loud crash.
Yeah.
And it was like hearing the crash just a few days earlier.
I can't even imagine.
It was, we did the best we could to depict. I spent 22 hours, 2 11-hour days with the director, with a camera on me and a microphone, and went through everything that I could remember. And, we'd have to do a 20-hour mini-series.
Sure.
To try to tell the whole story. So I had to tell the story that I could.
Yeah.
And because we didn't have
any of the
budget or the cooperation of key members like Gary Rossington.
I've read, on a lot of these fan pages and things when people putting their opinion about the movie, and that was one of the.
I don't care.
No,
I really don't care. I'm really glad for the people that liked it.
And there's a ton.
I expect people like Gene Odom and other people, are Judy Van Zant and Judy's daughter, who's a little spoiled brat, Melody. I expect them to get on their little Webby, pages, their little facelips, and get out and their little Tweety twats. I am sure that they're going to make their little comments. This wasn't right, and this is horrible, and that's you know what. I don't even care.
No, I don't care. I've actually read a lot of positive stuff. Probably there's a couple repeats that I kind of made mental notes of, and as far as anything negative, and really the worst of it that I saw was, I wish that they would have been able to, tell the story a little bit better than, because it was just real, like they didn't have a chance to really get to know the band before it happened. Now, this is like people watching a movie, right? Like the real fans that I mentioned, like myself, like we've read every book, we've seen every documentary, we've heard every interview. I mean, we live this stuff and breathe this stuff right along with you guys on, from our side of the fence. And so, for these people to be saying, well, I wish, they should have taken more time to get to know the band or whatever. Like, well, yeah, like you mentioned, you'd have to do a mini series to really, like, for the rest of us, we already feel like we know you guys. Like, I grew up with you guys. You're part of my family, even though you don't know who I am, and there's millions of other people out there that can say that. Like, they feel like they knew Ronnie Van Zant. They feel like they know Artimus Pyle. And, so that kind of a thing is not necessary for us. We already are familiar with who everybody is. We just, I think for us and people like us, we're grateful to see through your eyes what really happened. And for the people that are not like us and they need to get educated on who this person was and who that person was, well, they should read some of these books and watch a documentary too and get to know you guys the way we do. Because without doing like a mini series or something of that nature, you can never do that in a 90-minute film. There's just not enough time,
There's not enough time, and you're totally right. And the information is out there. Well, Ryan, thank you for letting me talk about my friends, Ronnie Van Zant, Gary Rossington, Charlie Daniels. I miss them. I miss them a lot. And that's everybody, and the girls.
Yeah.
JoJo, Leslie, Cassie, and Steve Gaines, and Leon Wilkeson, Billy Powell, Alan Collins. These are the people that made the music, and I love them. I miss them. I know you do too.
I do.
So talk to you soon, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
See you in a minute.